So very broadly, nature-based solutions, or NBS, are really an approach to service delivery or an alternative to infrastructure development that utilizes kind of natural resources or environments or ecosystems to provide benefit for both society, the communities and residents in those locations, but also that kind of environment itself. Our particular focus was then around flooding. So how can we use nature-based solutions to reduce a flood risk, but then to maintain or restore a catchment ecology? One of the real advantages of nature-based solutions we often compare it to traditional grey infrastructure or very kind of hard physical engineering assets. For flooding, that might be elements like dams, levees, diversion channels as well, particularly in rural areas, is the range of co-benefits. So what we're looking for is how can we provide an equivalent flood mitigation benefit to a traditional grey infrastructure asset, but these range of other benefits. And so what we're trying to look through in doing that is balance out these what we call the 5 Rs. So looking for greater resilience to flooding in this case, more resistance to the impact of those, minimize our risk, looking at redundancies. So certainly in Australia in the last 5 years, we've had a lot of compounding and cascading disasters that have highlighted a lot of lack of resilience in particularly essential service delivery, but also disaster response. So how can nature-based solutions support that redundancy? And then return and benefits to all those involved. So stakeholders, but they're kind of considering environment as one of our kind of key stakeholders. There's still a lot of kind of questions and barriers to their kind of more broad scale introduction or use. So if you look at it from a flooding point of view, they're not mainstream. Our general approaches to flooding over the last century maybe have been those traditional grey infrastructure assets, and they have served us well in many cases. A question around uncertainty. So it can be a lot more difficult to predict the impacts or the benefits of a nature-based solution than compared to a fixed engineering asset, physical infrastructure asset. They are live approaches. So obviously they develop, they grow, they adapt. So it's very difficult to predict how that will go going forward. Related to that is estimating their cost effectiveness. So you are looking at the economic side of where should we put in a financial investment, determining what are going to be the exact benefits of that or the returns of that from a financial point of view can be very difficult. Looking at governance institutional, because they have a much broader range of stakeholders involved, local landowners, local councils, state or territory governments in Australia, there might be national governments as well. Who's responsible for owning and maintaining delivery? They might be distributed across multiple landowners as well. So understanding those different governance requirements and this kind of institutional responsibilities is more complex. Related to that, you obviously have more diverse stakeholder involvement. So you might be talking across a broader range of stakeholders, landowners, national parks, federal parks, state parks. Again, going back to our acknowledgement, traditional owners. So what is the role of traditional land ownership or custodianship? Then they also need a lot of localization. So they are restoring an environmental area, and so that has to be local to that environmental area. So